Hare Krishna, all the devotees, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada, Hari Hari Bol to all the devotees who led the chanting today, Hari Bol to Pawan Prabhuji and Sangeeta Mataji, thank you for leading the chanting. Hare Krishna. So today we are here in Louisville. We just had a Mangala Harti with His Holiness Janardhan Swami Maharaj, and we are looking forward to having him join us today in Cincinnati this evening for the home program at Kamal Krishna Prabhu's house from 6 to 9 p.m. today. So with that, let's start with our Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanaतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्नति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Okay, so start of another new week. We will recite more wonderful Vaishnava bhajans, ashtakams, in this most auspicious and most holy month of Purushottam Adhik Mas. So last week we sang Sri Radhika Ashtakam and Sri Chaura Ashtakam. So today we will sing Sri Nandanandana Ashtakam and also Sri Radha Kripakataksh. So I've shared the link in the chat. Alright, let's start. Sucharuvaktramandalaಂ sukarnaratnakundalam sucharchitangacandanam namami nandanandanam sudirghanetrapankajam shikishikhandamurdajam anangakotimmohanam namami nandanandanam sunasikagramouktikam swachandadantapanktikam navambudangachikkanam namami nandanandanam करेण वेणुरञ्जितं गतिकरेन्द्रगञ्जितं दुकूलपीतशोभनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं त्रिभङ्गदेहसुन्दरं नखद्युतिसुधाकरम् अमूल्यरत्नभूषणं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं सुगन्ध अङ्गसौरभम् उरोविराजिकौस्तुभं स्फुरच्छ्रीवत्सलाञ्छनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनम् वृन्दावनसुनागरं विलासनुगवाससं सुरेन्द्रगर्वमोचनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं व्रजाङ्गनासुनायकं सदा सुखप्रदायकं जगन्मनप्रलोभनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं श्रीनन्दनन्दनाष्टकं पठेद्य श्रद्धयान्वितः तरेद्भवाब्धिं दुष्तरं लभेत् तदङ्घ्रियुग्मकम्. Nandanandana ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, we'll read the translation. Anybody like to read today?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Nandini Gopika
I can
Mataji,
read,
please.
Prabhu.
Yes.
I offer pranams to Nandanandana, whose face is extremely delightful, in whose beautiful ears hang jeweled earrings, and whose entire body is anointed with fragrant chandan. I offer pranam to Nandanandana, whose eyes are more beautiful than the fully bloomed lotus flower, whose head is beautifully adorned with an arrangement of peacock feathers, and who enchants millions of cupids. I offer pranam to Nandanandana, from whose beautiful nose hangs an elephant pearl, whose teeth are immensely effulgent, whose bodily complexion is more beautiful and lustrous than a fresh rain cloud. I offer pranam to Nandanandana, whose lotus hands hold the flute, whose lingering gait defeats even that of an impassioned elephant, and whose dark limbs are beautified by a yellow shawl. I offer pranam to Nandanandana, whose threefold bending posture is exquisitely elegant, the effulgence of whose toenails puts to shame even the moon, and who wears invaluable jewels and ornaments. I offer pranam to Nandanandana, whose body exudes an especially beautiful fragrance, and whose broad chest is adorned with the Kaustuba jewel and the mark of Srivatsa. I offer pranam to Nandanandana, the expert lover of Vrindavan, who performs immaculate pastimes and who is attired in clothes which are suitable for those pastimes, and who pulverized the pride of Indra. I offer pranam to Nandanandana, who, as the lover of Rajagopis, perpetually delights them and who enchants the minds of all living entities. Whoever regularly recites this Sri Nandanandanashtakam will easily cross the seemingly insurmountable ocean of material existence and attain eternal residence at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Nandini
Prabhu.
Mataji. Any reflections, anything you want to share?
When I read Nandanandanashtaka, I always in my uh, like vision comes all the beautiful deities of our ISKCON temples. So Radha Madhav and Shishi Radha Madhav, Shishi Radha Vrindavan Chandra. So just because that is, um, from the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has taught this, all of us such good, or not actually all of us, his own disciples, such good standards of deity Shingar that you can actually envision. And, if this is what we see in our material world, then what to say of the spiritual world where Sri Krishna resides, and then how beautiful he must be. So my most favorite verse in this is the toenails one, where his toenails are more effulgent that it even shames the moon. Like when I first read this was amazing. So that's all, Prabhu.
Thank you. As you were speaking, I was having darshan of Shishi Radha Radhanathji.
I don't do it so nicely, Prabhu, but Sri Radha Radhanath is very merciful. He still looks beautiful. However, I inadequately dress him up now. So
you and your whole family are such nice devotees taking care of them. So because of your love, they're always smiling so nicely and they're showering their love to everybody
I
else
think
around. So
when they
thank
go
you.
to devotees like you, that's when they get their nourishment. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you. Yes,
Krishna.
and yeah, and your point about how Srila Prabhupada has given, I was just mentioning that yeah, we are here in Louisville this morning. We had the Mangalarti program with Maharaj, and yeah, he was also mentioning about Prabhupada's, how what he has given us, all this process, and yeah, just by following the process that Srila Prabhupada has given us, all of us are being transformed. And yeah, it's just nice to see this small town of Louisville. When I left this 10, 11 years ago, we had just one or two families, practicing Krishna consciousness here. And now, this morning we in the Mangalarti, we had almost 20, 25 devotees that joined the program at the home. And yeah, many of them aspiring for initiation. So that is the power of, what Srila Prabhupada has given us, and the deities, yeah, like you said. So thank you so much. Okay, so let's continue. As we are always doing in this special month, we are singing one extra Ashtakam or Bhajan. So today we will sing Shri Radha Kripa Kataksh, and then we'll continue with reading. मुनीन्द्र वृंद वंदिते त्रिलोक शोक हारिणी प्रसन्न वक्त्र पंकजे निकुंज भूविलासिनी व्रजेन्द्र भानु नंदिनी व्रजेन्द्र सूनु संगते कदा करिष्यसि हमां कृपा कटाक्ष भाजनम् अशोक वृक्ष वल्लरी वितान मंडप स्थिते प्रवाल वाल पल्लव प्रभारुनाग्रि कोमले वराभय स्फुरत्करे प्रभूत संपदालये कदा करिष्यसि हमां कृपा कटाक्ष भाजनम् अनंगरंग मंगल प्रसंग भंगुर भ्रुवां सविभ्रमं ससंभ्रमं दृगंत बाण पाटनै निरन्तरं वशीकृत पतीति नन्दनन्दने कदा करिष्यसि हमां कृपा कटाक्ष भाजनम् तडित्सुवर्ण चंपक प्रदीप्त गौर विग्रहे मुख प्रभा परास्त कोटि शारदेन्दु मंडले विचित्रचित्रसञ्चरच्चकोरशावलोचने कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मदोन्मदाति यौवने प्रमोदमानमण्डिते प्रियानुरागरञ्जिते कलाविलासपण्डिते अनन्यधन्यकुञ्जराजकामकेलिकोविदे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अशेषहावभावधीरहीरहारभूषिते प्रभूतशातकुम्भकुम्भकुम्भिकुम्भसुस्तनि प्रशस्तमन्दहास्यचूर्णपूर्णसौख्यसागरे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मृणालवालवल्लरीतरङ्गरङ्गदोर्लते लताग्रलास्यलोलनीललोचनावलोकने ललल्लुलन्विलन्मनोज्ञमुग्धमोहनाश्रिते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् सुवर्णमल्लिकाञ्चितत्रिरेखकम्बुकण्ठगे त्रिसूत्रमङ्गलीगुणत्रिरत्नदीप्तिदीदिति सलोलनीलकुन्तलप्रसूनगुच्छगुम्फिते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् नितम्बबिम्बलम्ब मानपुष्पमेखलागुणे प्रशस्तरत्नकिङ्किणी कलापमध्यमञ्जुले करेन्द्रशुण्डदण्डिकावरोह सौभगौरके कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनेकमन्त्रनादमञ्जनूपुरा रवस्खलत् समाजराजहंसवंश निक्वनातिगौरवे विलोलहेमवल्लरी विडम्बिचारुचङ्क्रमे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनन्तकोटिविष्णुलोकनम्रपद्मजार्चिते हिमाद्रिजपुलोमजा विरिञ्चिजावरप्रदे अपारसिद्धिरिद्धिदिग्धसत्पदाङ्गुलीनखे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मखेश्वरी क्रियेश्वरी स्वदेश्वरी सुरेश्वरी त्रिवेदभारतीश्वरी प्रमाणशासनेश्वरी रमेश्वरी क्षमेश्वरी प्रमोदकाननेश्वरी व्रजेश्वरी व्रजाधिपे श्रीराधिके नमोऽस्तुते इति ममाद्भुतं स्तवं निशम्य भानुनन्दिनी करोतु सन्ततं जनं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनं भवेत् तदैव सञ्चिततिरूपकर्मनाशनं भवेत् तदा व्रजेन्द्रसूनुमण्डलप्रवेशनम् कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनं कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् श्री राधा कृपाकटाक्ष की जय श्री महेश्वर श्री शीलाशिव जी श्री शंभु महेश्वर की जय Okay, let's continue with reading of Sri Krishna book. So last week Saturday we wrapped up chapter 18. Yesterday we read in Hindi. So today we'll continue chapter 19. So chapter 18 we saw again how Balaramji killed Pralambasur, and Balaramji, as you know all, is the original spiritual master, Adi Guru, and expansion from Sri Krishna, and the killing of Pralambasur and the killing of Dhenukasur by Balaramji is especially significant because Sri Guru, as the representative of Adi Guru Balaramji, comes into our life to destroy our material ignorance that we are living in, which is like the propensity that, living like just like dogs, cats, and asses, right? So Dhenukasur represents that mentality in the material world. So Balaramji killed Dhenukasur, and then Balaramji also killed Pralambasur because Pralambasur represents material lust in our heart, and that takes us away from Krishna, right? So Pralambasur was taking Balaramji away from Krishna, and Balaramji, with a blow of his fist, killed Pralambasur. So both of these pastimes are very significant, and that represent the mercy of Sri Guru, who come into our life to destroy our material ignorance and destroy these anarthas, especially the pride and envy, those tendencies. So Okay, material lust, pride and envy. Alright, so let's continue chapter 19, devouring the forest fire. While Krishna and Balaram, alright, sorry, anybody else would like to read? If not, then I'll continue. If anybody else would like to read, you can raise your hand virtually, so then I'll pause. Okay, devouring the forest fire. While Krishna and Balaram and their friends were engaged in the pastime described above, the cows, being unobserved, began to wander off on their own, entering farther and farther into the deepest part of the forest, allured by fresh grasses. The goats, cows, and buffaloes traveled from one forest to another and entered the forest known as Ishikatavi. This forest was full of green grass, and therefore they were allured. But when they entered, they saw that there was a forest fire, and they began to cry. On the other side, Balaram and Krishna, along with their friends, could not find their animals, and they became very much aggrieved. They began to trace the cows by following their footprints, as well as the path of eaten grass. All of the boys were fearing that their very means of livelihood, the cows, were now lost. When searching out for the cows in the forest, they themselves became very tired and thirsty. Soon, however, they heard the crying of their cows. Krishna began to call the cows by their respective names with great noise. Upon hearing Krishna calling, the cows immediately replied with joy. But by this time the forest fire had surrounded all of them, and the situation appeared to be very fearful. The flames increased as the wind blew very quickly, and it appeared that everything movable and immovable would be devoured. All the cows and the boys became very frightened, and they looked toward Balaram and Krishna the way a dying man looks at the picture of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They said, Dear Krishna, you and Balaram are very powerful. We are now burning from the heat of this blazing fire. Let us take shelter of your lotus feet. We know you can protect us from this great danger. Our dear friend Krishna, we are your intimate friends. It is not right that we should suffer in this way. We are all completely dependent on you, and you are the knower of all religious life. We do not know anyone except you. The Personality of Godhead heard the appealing voices of his friends, and casting a pleasing glance over them, he began to answer. By speaking through his eyes, he impressed upon his friends that there was no cause for fear, and he assured them, Don't worry. Then Krishna, the Supreme Mystic, the powerful Personality of Godhead, immediately swallowed up all the flames of the fire. The cows and the boys were thus saved from imminent danger. Out of fear, the boys were almost unconscious, but when they regained their consciousness and opened their eyes, they saw that they were again in the Bhandira forest with Krishna, Balaram, and the cows. They were astonished to see that they were completely free from the attack of the blazing fire, and that the cows were saved. They secretly thought that Krishna must not be an ordinary boy, but some demigod. In the evening, Krishna and Balaram, along with the boys and cows, returned to Vrindavan, playing their flutes. As they approached the village, all the gopis became very joyous. Throughout the day, the gopis used to think of Krishna while he was in the forest, and in his absence, they were considering one moment to be like 12 years. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 19th chapter of Sri Krishna, devouring the forest fire. Okay, let's continue chapter 20. Description of autumn. The killing of Pralambasura and the devouring of the devastating forest fire by Krishna and Balaram became household topics in Vrindavan. The cowherd men described these wonderful activities to their wives and to everyone else, and all were struck with wonder. They concluded that Krishna and Balaram were demigods who had kindly come to Vrindavan to become their children. In this way, the rainy season ensued. In India, after the scorching heat of the summer, the rainy season is very welcome. The clouds accumulating in the sky, covering the sun and the moon, become very pleasing to the people, and they expect rainfall at every moment. After summer, the advent of the rainy season is considered to be a life-giving source for everyone. The thunder and occasional lightning are also pleasurable to the people. The symptoms of the rainy season may be compared to the symptoms of the living entities who are covered by the three modes of material nature. The unlimited sky is like the supreme Brahman, and the tiny living entities are like the covered sky, or Brahman covered by the three modes of material nature. Originally, everyone is part and parcel of Brahman. The supreme Brahman, or the unlimited sky, can never be covered by a cloud, but a portion of it can be covered. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they are only an insignificant portion of the Supreme Lord. This portion is covered by the modes of material nature, and therefore the living entities are residing within this material world. The Brahmajyotir, spiritual effulgence, is just like the sunshine. As the sunshine is full of molecular shining particles, so the Brahmajyotir is also full of minute portions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Out of that unlimited expansion of minute portions of the Supreme Lord, some are covered by the influence of material nature, whereas others are free. Clouds are accumulated water drawn from the land by the sunshine. Continuously for 8 months, the sun evaporates all kinds of water from the surface of the globe, and this water is accumulated in the shape of clouds, which are distributed as water when there is need. Similarly, a government exacts various taxes from the citizens, such as income tax and sales tax, which the citizens are able to pay by their different material activities, such as agriculture, trade, industry, and so on. This taxation is compared to the sun's drawing water from the earth. When there is again need of water on the surface of the globe, the same sunshine converts the water into clouds and distributes it all over the globe. Similarly, the taxes collected by the government must be distributed to the people again, as educational work, public work, sanitation work, etc. This is very essential for a good government. The government should not simply exact taxes for useless squandering. The tax collection should be utilized for the public welfare of the state. During the rainy season, there are strong winds blustering all over the country and carrying clouds from one place to another to distribute life-giving water to the needy living entities. Water is urgently needed after the summer season, and thus the clouds are just like a rich man who in times of need distributes his money even to the point of exhausting his whole treasury. So the clouds exhaust themselves by distributing water all over the surface of the globe. When Maharaj Dashrath, the father of Lord Ramchandra, used to fight with his enemies, it was said that he approached them just like a farmer uprooting unnecessary plants and trees. And when there was need of giving charity, he used to distribute money exactly as the cloud distributes rain. The distribution of rain by clouds is so sumptuous that it is compared to the distribution of wealth by a great, munificent person. The clouds' downpour is so profuse that the rains even fall on rocks and hills and on the oceans and seas where there is no need for water. The clouds resemble a charitable person who opens his treasury for distribution and who does not discriminate whether the charity is needed or not. He gives them charity open-handedly. Before the rainfall, the whole surface of the globe becomes almost depleted of all kinds of energies and appears very lean. After the rainfall, the whole surface of the earth becomes green with vegetation and appears to be very healthy and strong. Here, a comparison is made to the person undergoing austerities for fulfillment of a material desire. The flourishing condition of the earth after the rainy season is compared to the fulfillment of material desires. Sometimes, when a country is subjugated by an undesirable government, persons and parties undergo severe penances and austerities to get control of the government, and when they attain control, they flourish by giving themselves generous salaries. This temporary profit is like the flourishing of the earth in the rainy season. Actually, one should undergo severe austerities and penances only to achieve spiritual happiness. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that tapasya or austerity should be accepted for realizing the Supreme Lord. By accepting austerity in devotional service, one regains his spiritual life, and as soon as one regains his spiritual life, he enjoys unlimited spiritual bliss. But if someone undertakes austerities and penances for some material gain, it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the results are temporary and that they are desired by persons of less intelligence. During the rainy season, in the evening, there are many glowworms visible about the tops of trees hither and thither, and they glitter just like lights. But the luminaries of the sky, the stars and the moon, are not visible. Similarly, in the age of Kali, persons who are atheists or miscreants become very prominently visible, whereas persons who are actually following the Vedic principles for spiritual emancipation are practically obscured. This age, Kali Yuga, is compared to the cloudy season of the living entities. In this age, real knowledge is covered by the influence of the material advancement of civilization. The cheap mental speculators, atheists and manufacturers of so-called religious principles become prominent like the glowworms, whereas persons strictly following the Vedic principles or scriptural injunctions become covered by the clouds of this age. People should learn to take advantage of the actual luminaries of the sky, the sun, the moon and the stars, instead of the glowworms' light. Actually, the glowworms cannot give any light in the darkness of night. As soon as clouds sometimes clear, even in the rainy season, and sometimes the moon, the stars and sun become visible, so even in this Kali Yuga, there are sometimes advantages. For example, sometimes Lord Chaitanya's Vedic movement of distributing the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is heard. People seriously eager to find real light should take advantage of this movement instead of looking toward the light of mental speculators and atheists. After the first rainfall, when there is a thundering sound in the clouds, all the frogs begin to croak, like students suddenly engaged in reading their studies. Students are generally supposed to rise early in the morning. They do not usually arise of their own accord, however, but only when there is a bell sounded in the temple or other spiritual institution. By the order of spiritual master, they immediately rise, and after finishing their morning duties, they sit down to study the Vedas or chant Vedic mantras. Everyone is sleeping in the darkness of Kali Yuga, but when there is a great Acharya, by his calling only, everyone takes to the study of the Vedas to acquire actual knowledge. During the rainy season, many small ponds, lakes, and rivulets become filled with water. Otherwise, the rest of the year they remain dry. Similarly, materialistic persons are dry, but sometimes when they are in the so-called opulent position, with a home or children or a little bank balance, they appear to be flourishing. But immediately afterwards, they become dry again, like the small rivulets and ponds. The poet Vidyapati said that in the society of friends, family, children, wife, etc., there is certainly some pleasure, but that pleasure is compared to a drop of water in the desert. Everyone is hankering after happiness, just as in the desert everyone is hankering after water. If in the desert there is a drop of water, it may of course be said that water is there, but the benefit from that drop of water is very insignificant. In our materialistic way of life, which is just like a desert, we are hankering after an ocean of happiness, but in the form of society, friends, and mundane love, we are getting no more than a drop of water. Our satisfaction is never achieved, as the small rivulets, lakes, and ponds are never filled with water in the dry season. Alright, I think we'll pause here today, because we need to head out back to Cincinnati in some time. But yeah, I was thinking so many things nice, and asked Prabhupada always. This chapter is so beautiful because Prabhupada is making so many kind of analogies, but also very, very practical life lessons. But yeah, a few things that were coming to mind as we were reading this was one thing, like how the first thing in the previous chapter, as the friends of Krishna, we're praying so sincerely to Krishna and Balaram that you are our only shelter, you have to save us, so how wonderfully, we can learn from those prayers when we sit to chant our japa in the morning, like we were saying a couple of days ago. That japa time is like our one-on-one meeting with Krishna, right? So like, we meet with our bosses in our office, but here we are meeting the boss of the universe, the universal boss. He's there with us, but he's also so dear and so nice that he's such a it's not just that he's like servant leader, like we teach, right? Like our guru, they are like servant leaders. They teach, they're doing prachar to their achar. The acharyas are like servant leaders. Similarly, Krishna is also like that. He doesn't like to take that position of of the Supreme Lord. That is there, of course, his position in Vaikuntha, but in the most sweet abode of Golok Vrindavan, he wants to enjoy these eternal pastimes with his friends, with his dear father and mother, with all the devotees there in the rasa that they want to enjoy. So, but the prayer that they were reciting to Krishna, that you are our only shelter and you have to take care of us. It's almost like they're demanding him to protect them, and then he obliged, right? So that is kind of the bhav, that is not covered by awe and reverence. So so we can also pray to the Lord in that mood when we sit to chant or japa, whatever bhav we have for the Lord, we can and of course, so the our when we practice sadhana bhakti, then it becomes spontaneous later as we progress. It's not going to happen overnight, but all these wonderful disciples of Srila Prabhupada also are teaching us through their achar. Like, it doesn't matter what time they sleep. Like yesterday, by the time we wrapped up the program, almost, and by the time we went to bed, it was almost midnight. But yeah, Maharaj was there this morning, 4:30 for the Mangala Arati, and so yeah, we learned so much from that. And yeah, that is like Prabhupada was saying today, students wake up in the morning to read, kind of out of duty. But in the spiritual life, that tapasya, that austerity that we perform, it gives us immense, unlimited, unbounded happiness that Krishna reciprocates when we start, receiving that mercy of the Lord. And then we start feeling it. So yesterday in the class, there was one African American devotee or person who had come actually, and then I came to know later that he actually came all the way from Columbus to Louisville, and they came in a group of 3, and he was asking a question. He was very, very inquisitive and very sincere, because I was talking to Maharaj after the program, and Maharaj was saying, because we were comparing, there was one person who was from an Indian origin, Indian background, but very atheistic, and he was very challenging way he was asking, and he was trying to convince his point of view about, impersonalistic point of view. And so Maharaj kind of was very, very hard on him. Um, and then this African American person, he was very, very sincere. Very, he had questions, but he was asking it in a very humble manner. That he wanted to know more, and he wanted to learn, and he wanted to understand, and he didn't want to take just things blindly, right? So that was nice. So Maharaj really liked that attitude. That he was very. Maharaj said later to me, like, he was very inquisitive, and because he was very intelligent, his question was very intelligent, and he could see from the way he was asking that he was very sincere in his approach, in his questions. That he didn't, like, he was asking Maharaj, like, how did you get convinced about this? What have you felt about this? So it was very nice. Um, so um, yeah, so the point is again that the Sri Guru that we are talking about, they come into our life, and for those who are inquisitive, for those who are sincere, they come, and Krishna arranges that, right? So this person came all the way from Columbus to attend the program, and maybe he may come to Cincinnati also, because we were talking to him, because Maharaj was telling him that I've done this for 40 years, and the proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? So you have to eat it. Try it for just 1 week. Chant these holy names, eat Mahaprasadam of the Lord, and associate with these devotees, and then you tell me, after a week, what you feel. And then if you want, you can travel with me. So he said, oh, that will be nice. I would really like to travel. But he said, but you have to pay for your own tickets. so but hopefully at least the local travel he can do. And maybe as Maharaj travels to farther cities, he'll go from here to Atlanta, Cincinnati, and then Cincinnati to Atlanta, and then I think he's going to go to a lot of other cities in the US and then Canada. But all these disciples of Prabhupada, and the Guru Parampara, Guru Varga, again, just as Prabhupada is explaining here, that Krishna is merciful, but the devotees of Krishna are even more merciful, because they are like these clouds. Krishna is the ocean, and these acharyas are like the clouds of mercy. So they take mercy from the ocean of the Lord, from Sri Krishna, and they travel like clouds all over the world to distribute this nectar, this mercy of the Lord. And like Amarendra Prabhu usually says, that Mahaprabhu is very merciful, but Mahaprabhu is also very strict. So this whenever I associate with His Holiness Bhakti Anugrah Janardhan Maharaj, he's very, very strict. He comes across very strict. He's very, so like so sometimes it's like that. But then you see the other side of him when he's so merciful. So it reminds us of Balaramji. So Amarendra Prabhu usually says that this of course is the Purushottam Mass, and our Nitai Gaur Chandra are very merciful. They are Prem Purushottam. Mahaprabhu is Prem Purushottam. He comes to freely distribute this love, but then he preaches to the classes, like he preaches to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, like Advaita Acharya, all very exalted Vaishnavas, who take initiation and learning from Mahaprabhu. Whereas what does Nityananda Prabhu do? Nityananda Prabhu, who is the the spiritual master, Adi Guru, as we said, he preaches to the masses, right? So Mahaprabhu goes to the classes, and Nityananda Prabhu goes to the masses. So Mahaprabhu kind of feels the ecstasy, feels the love of spiritual world of Srimati Radharani, because he in the Radha Bhav, right? So he feels the love of Krishna. But Nityananda Prabhu, as the spiritual master, he says he fills the heart, right? So Mahaprabhu feels himself, and he gives to the classes. But Nityananda Prabhu is even more merciful, because he not only feels the mercy, but he actually fills the hearts of all the devotees, with this love, and he's freely distributing this to everybody and anybody who wants, who doesn't even want, to just like people like Jagai and Madai that time. And then this age, it is said in Kali Yuga, as Prabhupada is saying, there are all these glowworms who come across as pseudo devotees or pseudo gurus, right? But we should always take shelter of Shri Gaurachandra, the eternal moon, and Ramachandra, Gaurachandra, Nityachandra, Nitai, right? So they are all like the luminaries in the sky, and Nityananda Prabhu, as the Guru Tattva, he comes to distribute this love, especially in this age of Kali Yuga, It is very, very easily available just by chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, by chanting the glories of the holy name, by chanting, reading our scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and by associating with devotees, by honoring prasadam, right? So the process is very, very simple and very, very sublime. It's just that we have to taste the pudding, and the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So as Maharaj was saying to that devotee, you try it for 1 week. So yeah, I know we all have been trying here for many, not weeks, but weeks and months and years, and I'm sure we are experiencing some bliss, and that is the only reason why we are continuing. At least I can speak for myself. That is the reason why I'm continuing on this path for more than 13 years now. So, but yeah, very, very beautiful. I think this chapter is very, very nice, and we'll continue to read again tomorrow. And today, as we said, we'll have Association of Maharaj at Cincinnati, and the home program at Kamal Krishna Prabhu and Manjari Gopi Mataji's home. So we look forward to all of you joining for that. Anybody else would like to say or share anything that you liked from today's reading? Or from the prayers? Or from the remembrance of the Lord? Tejas Vinamaham. Yes, Krishna is showing here how we can devour the whole forest fire. Like our material desires, this material world is samsara davana lida loka, as we sing in the Mangalarti that we just did here. This whole material world is like forest fire, and Sri Guru, who comes as the ocean of mercy, the cloud of mercy, he helps to subdue this material forest fire. So, okay, any other thoughts, comments, concluding words? Alright, if none, then we'll pause here for today. Thank you all for your kind association in this very, very beautiful month. Shri Purushottam Adhik Maas ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you everybody.
Hare
Hari
Hari
Krishna.
Bol.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.